Alice shouts that it's not her fault at all, and for her to think of Alice as a sister, she will become stronger to prove herself so that Onisama won't face danger again. She further yells, declaring to everyone that anyone who gets close to her sister will be completely obliterated. Remembering the past, Alice ponders. She was always smiling back then, even while being completely worn out by work and left behind by her siblings to handle everything alone. In the end, even when she questioned why her pay was so little, they shouted at her, telling her that she was just spouting nonsense and to stop working with them if she had a problem. They even told her that they were trading with her, a giant, out of the kindness of their hearts, and went as far as to ask her siblings not to bring her back to them, calling her a dog. In the end, she always cried in silence because she couldn't understand why all of this was happening to her alone. She was short and weak, and even her hair and skin differed from the others. Unlike most giants, she was sharp-witted, but she always stopped herself from crying by slapping her own face, reminding herself that crying isn't something giants do. She would ask herself to at least get something right, telling herself that she couldn't allow her brother to lose face, so she just had to smile and smile. Snatching her own hair, hitting herself, she forced herself to smile. Back in the present, she enjoys a candy, telling her sister that it is so sweet, soft, and tastes really good. The shopkeeper tells Hinako that it takes a lot of effort to make such a huge lollipop. Hinako thanks him for his effort and for accepting her request. But for Alice, she mentions that it is really rare for her sister to buy something for her. Hinako tells her that she noticed her looking at it earlier, and since they are leaving the village, she wants her to try it before they go. Alice suddenly realizes that it might have cost a lot, which makes the shopkeeper alert as well because he completely forgets about the price. Hinako compares it with the smaller one, which costs a bronze coin, while Alice says it's not just that, because a lot more sugar has to be used. So, by going by the measuring cup, and by subtracting the cost of labor, it should be around 200 bronze points. The shopkeeper is shocked by such a precise calculation, while Alice tells him it's out of habit and apologizes if she is wrong, also saying sorry to her sister for interrupting and making her pay more. But Hinako tells her not to be sorry because she is a great help, and it wouldn't be fair to underpay the shopkeeper. The shopkeeper is amused by Hinako's sincerity and Alice's cleverness. Hinako, being the elder sister, feels proud of her. After that, both of them take a stroll, and Alice continues to look at the things around the market, smiling with joy. After a while, noticing silence on Hinako's face, she gently speaks, mentioning that they have bought so much, but Hinako tells her that she doesn't need to worry, because they got the reward for taking down the ice dragon, so they don't need to worry about money for quite a while. Alice feels confused while Hinako explains that the one who is always fighting is Alice, who is both strong and smart, and even the one carrying the luggage now. So what can she do for her? As her sister, it brings her great joy, as long as Alice doesn't bring shame upon her. Alice looks at her sister's face, telling her that she doesn't want anything from her, that she already has everything, and there's nothing more she could ask. Tears stream down her face as she gazes at her sister with love. Suddenly she begins crying uncontrollably, wiping her tears with her fingers. Hinako apologizes once more, softly saying that she won't bring up this topic again. Her nose drips when Alice suddenly shouts, pointing at her sister and declaring that, as punishment, she needs to buy a new suit for herself. Hinako tells her that she's fine with the dress she's already wearing. But Alice shouts back, insisting that it's not okay, because her clothes are all worn out from being used too long, and everything they bought earlier was for her anyway. After that, Alice drags her to an expensive shop. Hinako hesitates, saying she doesn't think she needs something that costly, but Alice yells again, telling her there's definitely a need. She might not understand it since she's an otherworlder, but even taking measurements while unarmed is dangerous. In the end, Hinako, having no other option, agrees and says she'll have the tailor prepare one dress for her. Alice immediately shouts again, telling her she needs more than one, and if anything happens, she just has to ring the bell. Hinako agrees, looking at Alice and thinking of her as a pushy girl. As she observes her sister, Alice smirks, saying that it's just about time for all of them to show up. Ninjas sit quietly on the roof. One of them speaks up, asking if she really sensed their presence. That's quite the skill for a giant. He is Pileeper, a human with the class of High Wizard. Alice smiles, saying she didn't sense him directly. She just tracks every single movement around her sister. Pileeper expected nothing less from the girl who took down his comrade. She laughs at his words, accusing him of pretending to be more important than he is, then stating that his companion was scum, who had kidnapped her sister and planned to defile and sell her. Hearing this, Pileeper acknowledges that Natal, that bastard, did do it again. And yes, it was indeed his companion's fault for doing something so disgraceful, bringing shame to their church. To rape is to dishonor the church, and to lose to lowlifes like otherworlders and giants is even worse. Now they must clean up his mess and properly kidnap, violate, and sell the two sisters. As Pileeper transforms his body, Alice freaks out, eyes wide with shock. He explains that he is a 5th rank knight of the Holy Church, holding the title of High Wizard. Alice, confused, listens as he elaborates. Those who are 1 in several thousand are called sorcerers, 1 in 10,000 become wizards, and those who are 1 in 100,000 are granted the title of High Wizard, not to mention, through the ancient relic he wields, magical tattoos cover his entire body, making his spells even larger and more destructive. As a giant, she should understand, greater size means greater strength. Looking at his weapon, Alice screams for her sister. Pileeper tells her that power is what defines everything, whether it's numbers like the church has or magic like his. He possesses it all, so no matter how large her body may be, it's meaningless against his magic. He tells her to face despair. His words drag Alice back into a memory. Someone calls her over, asking her to check out the view. As she approaches, the height terrifies her. She nervously asks what they want from her when, suddenly, the person pushes her off the cliff. As she falls, she sees them looking down, one of them sneering with a cruel smile, saying she's finally gone, along with that disgusting grin, muttering that she truly was useless, worthless, and nothing more than a piece of garbage. Back in the present, Alice transforms into a bizarre creature soaring through the skies. She summons the spirits of the wind, leaving the ninja stunned as he realizes she is using spirit magic. She continues unleashing the magic of water, light, and fire, each one surging with greater intensity, causing the ninjas to panic as they realize the sheer escalation in magical energy and power. They cry out, asking what on earth she even is, since her class remains unidentified. Suddenly, it's revealed. She is none other than the giant wizard. The ninja gasps, horrified, as he sees tattoos enveloping her entire body. He screams that it should be impossible. Tattoos shouldn't be able to cover a body to that extent. The ninjas remain baffled, questioning whether she might actually be the sovereign of all magic. After a while, a calm silence settles over the entire city. Alice is now seated on the stairs, patiently waiting for her sister to come out. As soon as Hinako steps outside, Alice calls to her, apologizing for making her wait so long. Alice then smiles, telling her not to worry about it. Her eyes sparkle as she notices the new suit and is visibly impressed, exclaiming that Hinako looks incredibly beautiful and that the outfit suits her perfectly. Hinako, puzzled by her words, comments that it's just the same outfit as before. Teasing her, Alice shouts that even though the outfit remains unchanged, the change in size makes her look far cooler, even more appealing. Hinako sighs, saying Alice is just exaggerating as usual, which makes Alice giggle softly as they walk together. Soon after, Hinako notices the scent of ash lingering in the air. Alice, attempting to excuse it, says she thinks someone nearby is probably cooking a large monster. For Hinako, it's frustrating because her new dress is getting dirty. Instantly, Alice throws her cape over Hinako's shoulders, offering it as protection. Hinako thanks her, expressing gratitude, but also notes that now Alice will get covered in all the ash instead. Alice smiles brightly, telling her not to worry about that. because brushing away the dust that comes near her is her duty as her little sister. Alice beams, requesting her sister to let her take a glance at the map. Hinako looks puzzled, inquiring what's going on as she recalls being the one meant to guide them. Alice exhales deeply, pointing out the tree ahead of them. It's the third instance she has come across it. She appreciates her sister's effort, but knows it's incorrect. Hinako reopens the map, asking her sibling to hold on, believing she's almost figured out how to read it. Yet Alice clenches her teeth in irritation. Still, she ultimately has no choice but to go along with her sister's judgment. After some time, they arrive at the cliff's edge, scanning the distance. Alice begins to sense a faint realization. Just as she suspected, their direction lies further east. Hinako eagerly peers forward, commenting that no matter how often she encounters it, she never gets accustomed to its massive size. She curiously asks Alice what lies beneath. Alice glances toward her and wonders if she had never shared that detail before. She elaborates. Beneath the colossal world tree rests the stronghold of the Demon King, his fortress. She adds that the struggle between humans and demons for that domain may never cease. Pausing briefly, Hinako appears uncertain, noting that the Demon King has his own fortress. Her remark draws a soft laugh from Alice, who admits feeling awkward to hear the question, but remarks that her sister might not even be aware of the Demon King. She reassures her that it's nothing to stress over, since Hinako doesn't even understand what a hero is. However, Hinako glares, irritated, insisting she knows quite well, and the Demon King she refers to now is none other than Schubert. She asks if that's accurate. Alice frowns, puzzled, and questions who that is. Elsewhere, a group of individuals dashes away, completely drained, when one breathlessly remarks he assumed today would be his fortunate day. None of them comprehend what kind of creature pursues them. Suddenly, they freeze, turning around in horror as a monstrous, fanged beast tears off the head of one of their companions. Gazing upon the lifeless, headless body, their eyes widen in terror, and they scramble to flee. The creature climbs slightly up the tree, scanning for its next prey. One man from the adventuring group shoves a girl forward, claiming she'll be the first to fall. Alone in front of the monster, she trembles, but Alice suddenly bursts onto the scene, launching an assault while narrowly evading blows. Eventually, however, both her arms are seized. The beast prepares to consume her, yet at the last moment, she manages a strike from within and is expelled from its jaws. Staring at the creature, Alice reflects that she's never encountered a man-eater in this region before. The adventurers are stunned by the unfolding events, unable to comprehend them. Hinako steps in, checking if they're all right. Finally, a scarred man offers gratitude to the girls, calling them a tremendous help. He gestures toward the girl in their group, explaining they were merely escorting her home and couldn't have imagined such a beast appearing. Turning to her, he asks if his statement is correct. In a shaking voice, she affirms it. Hinako nods as well, acknowledging how difficult it must have been for them. Meanwhile, Alice is occupied fastening the creature onto the spit, suggesting they go ahead and roast it. This leaves the group stunned, and one man, voice quivering, asks if she truly intends to consume it, considering the beast might have devoured people in the past. Alice responds that it's comparable to using waste as compost for crops. Vegetables often host pests, yet people still eat them, and asks if her logic makes sense. She adds that such monsters were mass-produced during the historic conflict between humans and demons, earning their name by being part of the demon forces. She continues, stating it makes sense for them to dwell within demon lands, which is why it's baffling to spot one here, especially after it attacked their comrade, so she understands their concern. Hinako chimes in, saying that for them as sisters, nourishment is a matter of survival. Alice grins at the remark, lightly disagreeing by claiming it's mostly her issue, since giants require far more sustenance than ordinary people. Most of their earnings from adventuring are spent on meals, which probably causes a fair share of hassle for her sibling. Hinako urges her not to think that way, reminding her that they're meant to stand on equal ground. Suddenly, two of the adventurers whisper among themselves, commenting that the older one appears to hold more worth. Meanwhile, The young girl with them turns her attention toward Alice, worriedly asking if she's injured. She admits she feels useless, yet Alice behaves like she's superior. Doesn't that hurt? The sisters exchange puzzled glances. Then the girl suddenly asks Hinako if she's the elder sibling, wondering aloud whether she's stronger than the giant. Hinako calmly clarifies that's incorrect. She can't fight at all. The girl pushes further, questioning whether she's at least smarter. Hinako denies that as well, explaining Alice is the one who taught her nearly everything. Persisting, the girl asks if that means Hinako is a more capable leader, or possibly more insightful. But Hinako shakes her head again, adding that Alice had just scolded her earlier because she couldn't read the map. The girl, visibly confused, asks Hinako why she refers to herself as that giant sibling. Hinako notices her shaking form and gently clarifies that the word means just what it sounds like. She admits it stings to think about how little strength she has, but she believes a person's abilities don't define their value. It's not about being older or having to be impressive or powerful. Still, as the elder sister, she vows to do whatever she can, using all that she has, for Alice's sake. She then tells the girl that Alice has gone to bathe by the river and invites her to join them, but the girl declines. As the sisters head off, the girl remains seated alone, quietly wondering what she herself can do. Meanwhile, a group of men stood gathered nearby, whispering among themselves, preparing to greet someone. The man with the facial scars suggests that if they capture the older sister as leverage, this entire matter could be resolved instantly. Another man chuckles, commenting that since she's from another world, today must truly be their lucky break. Listening from a distance, the girl grows uneasy. She suddenly speaks up, asking if they're seriously planning to abduct the very people who just saved them. The scarred man turns, glaring at her as he approaches, lifting her chin and asking if she doesn't find it wicked. Then, with a sneer, he says that seeing pampered young girls like her, or that smug otherworlder with her giant protector, makes him feel like it's about time he had some fun. Wouldn't she agree? Releasing her, he tells the others to quiet down. But then, strange noises catch his attention. He asks if the girls have already finished their bath, but as he glances forward, it's not them. It's the man eating monsters again. Elsewhere, Alice enjoys the bath, using her magic to warm the river water for Hinako. Turning to her, she smiles and says it's ready. Hinako thanks her, stepping in. Alice then removes her clothes, diving into the water and splashing Hinako playfully. Seeing her sister's startled reaction, Alice blushes and apologizes. Hinako reassures her, saying it's just a slight burn. As the water flows around them, Hinako notes that she was the one who dug the pit and filled it, and that baths truly feel wonderful. Alice agrees, explaining that giants don't bathe often, but with magic, they're easy to make. And if Hinako hadn't taught her, she wouldn't have even known about such comfort. Hinako, a little shy, admits she was overthinking things and says normal people might not understand their bond. Suddenly, Alice leans close, whispering that if anyone dares to come between them, they should watch her swallow them whole. Alice laughs, then gasps as something drops on her head. Hinako teases her, asking if giants really eat humans. Pausing, Alice says giants and humans look alike, so some find humans appealing. She's also heard that during famines, they had no choice but to cook and eat them in bulk. Hinako sighs and asks if, in front of another clan, she'd be able to eat someone. The question horrifies Alice, who says she couldn't even imagine it. Suddenly, both sisters hear cries for help. Alice turns and is horrified to see a swarm of monsters approaching. Hinako instantly leaps from the river, pleading for Alice's aid, but before Alice can respond, Hinako vanishes, propelled by the wind. Charging forward, Hinako rescues the girl as the scarred man is ripped apart. Alice, filled with dread, yells her sister's name. She then summons water magic, launching attacks at the monsters. Hinako shields the girl from flying debris, telling her to stay calm and close. But soon, Alice is caught in the creature's grasp. Seeing this, Hinako rises, pulls out a ring, and begins ringing it. The monsters immediately shift their focus toward her. The girl gasps, realizing it's a bell that attracts the beasts. As they lurch toward Hinako, the girl yells that she can't do this. Alice, catching on, panics as well. The girl stares at Hinako, realizing she's willing to risk her life to protect both her and the giant. Despite not being stronger, wiser, or a leader, she gives everything she has. Moved to tears, Alice smashes through the monsters, declaring she'll never let a single one lay a hand on her sister. She calls upon her weapon, asking it to lend her its might. A jolt of energy surges through her, transforming her into a towering being. She devastates the horde in a furious storm. Afterward, Hinako lowers the bell, walks toward the girl, and asks if she's okay or hurt anywhere. With teary eyes, the girl looks up at her and questions why she always pulls off stunts like that, powerless, yet always throwing herself into danger. Hinako smiles gently, remarking that caution is the only strength she truly possesses, and as the older sibling, isn't it natural to offer herself for the younger one's sake? Extending her hand toward the girl, she watches as the girl blushes, her face warm, then accepts it shyly, softly admitting that, for someone like a younger sister, that's exactly right. Thanking Hinako earnestly for rescuing her life, and even addressing her as Onisama, eyes lingering on her with admiration. Out of nowhere, Alice suddenly gasps, a realization hitting her hard, and she shouts in dismay. Later that evening, after a long trek, the group settles under the open sky to rest. Alice sits beneath a tree, grinding her teeth even in sleep, muttering through clenched jaw that Hinako belongs to her alone. While Hinako slumbers peacefully, the girl quietly walks away from the camp, moving toward the human-eating beasts. Speaking to them calmly, she assures them everything is fine now, and that the people with her are not foes. She adds solemnly that she remembers the fallen and won't forget them, but insists there's nothing they can do, as she, too, is weak and fragile, just like them. Lying gently across the monster's side, she grins faintly, wondering if someday Hinako might accept her as a younger sister too, with the same warmth. As dawn breaks, Alice glances at her sister and curiously asks where they're headed. Both girls perched on her shoulders inform her that their destination is the capital, but before that, they need to make a stop elsewhere. Hinako then brings up another matter. While she's grateful to have Carla with them, the way Carla refers to her feels slightly off. Carla laughs and apologizes lightheartedly, yet still calls her sister, which only fuels Alice's growing irritation. Carla, with a teasing grin, adds that she envies Alice. After all, giants form clans and call each other siblings, and if she could become part of Alice's clan, wouldn't that mean she'd be accepted as family too? Alice's temper begins to rise as Hinako steps in, explaining that Carla isn't entirely wrong and that this is exactly why they've come to the village of giants. Once they arrive, both girls hop off Alice's shoulder, and Hinako announces that their elder brother and father reside in the Kren clan's colony. Carla is stunned at the idea of so many giants in one place. Upon spotting them, the giants alert the rest, calling out joyfully that Ne-sama has returned. One bows deeply to Alice and calls Hinako the tiniest giant. Hinako greets him politely, addressing him as elder brother Sonin, the mightiest among them. Sonin immediately lifts her gently in his large hands, asking if she's here to visit their father and offering to carry her there. Both girls freeze in surprise, and Alice shouts at him to be cautious, warning that Hinako might get hurt. Sonin eyes her sternly, replying that it's been too long since he saw the whitest giant, and challenges her accusation, asking if she truly believes he could harm his own sibling by accident, even now, while he holds her heart so close. Alice panics, eyes bulging, while Hinako urges him to stop the teasing, apologizes on her sister's behalf, and requests he release her. Sonin laughs, relents, and warmly welcomes Alice as their newest kin. Hinako then turns around and tells Alice to stay back with Carla for a while, as she needs to have a private conversation with their father. Alice nods in agreement, and Hinako enters the nearby cave. Once inside the room, Hinako steps down respectfully, greeted by a towering giant who warmly acknowledges her return, calling her his daughter, the tiniest of the giants. Hinako smiles gently, replying that it's been far too long, and addresses him as the most thoughtful father through time. Meanwhile, the other giants go about their routines, focused on their duties and daily work, while Alice sits alone in a distant corner, her presence quiet but clearly withdrawn, leaving even Carla puzzled. Carla, tilting her head, hesitantly asks Alice if she dislikes the others. Could it be that she harbors resentment toward fellow giants? Alice shoots her a sharp glare, stating that Carla is absolutely terrible with words. While she may carry herself with poise, she's incredibly arrogant, and Alice questions what kind of upbringing she even had. Startled, Carla quickly responds that she was simply raised at home, nothing unusual. Alice turns away, her voice colder now, telling her that the proud and honorable race of giants she may have read about, the kind told in ancient tales of godly wars, no longer exists. What remains are scavengers who thrive atop the food chain, refusing to grow crops or raise beasts, simply drifting from land to land like a plague of locusts, consuming whatever is in sight without regard. They've grown blind to how low they've fallen, looking down on everything that isn't themselves. But Carla, still uncertain, gently pushes back, pointing out that this village doesn't resemble that at all. It looks more like a labor settlement than anything destructive. Alice, expression tight, explains that the excavation efforts here were led by Hinako, who carved out this place for the giants, negotiated peace with the locals, and earned the humiliating title of smallest giant as a result. For giants, smallness is an insult, just as whitest is, the label Alice bears. Carla pauses, stunned, refraining from saying what she initially intended. Sensing her silence, Alice raises an eyebrow, but Carla only says it's nothing, then softly adds that Alice's magical prowess is incredible. Alice scoffs, saying that in giant culture, strength trumps everything. Magic, even flight, is sneered at. None of them sees either of the girls as family. Her words don't go unheard. Her brother steps forward, telling her he can't just stay silent after hearing something so painful, and that she's still his sister. Meanwhile, in the cave, their father looks at Hinako and asks if she's planning to welcome someone new into their kin. He grins, teasing that it's fine, but wonders aloud why she even needs his blessing. Hinako smiles back, explaining that she asks not out of necessity, but out of respect for their bond. She reminds him that as the clan leader's daughter, if she were to adopt someone unilaterally, others might take issue. She simply wants to give Alice a true home, nothing more, no hidden motives. Her father nods, saying if that's her heart's truth, she should stop worrying and go welcome her new sibling with open arms. Hinako thanks her father softly, adding that perhaps she overthought everything. After all, how could someone like her ever bring harm to others? But her father shakes his head, assuring her that's not how it is, and promises he'll personally handle the matter. He adds, with pride in his voice, that he's truly grateful to have such a wise and considerate daughter. Their conversation continues warmly, filled with quiet understanding. Meanwhile, outside the cave, Carla is in a state of panic as she watches Sunan and Alice suddenly clash. She yells, demanding to know why they've started fighting out of nowhere. Both of them shoot a glare at her. Sunan then lowers his gaze to the startled girl and calmly refers to her as a young lady, explaining that this is just how giants converse, through spirited combat. Turning back to Alice, he smirks and asks if she remembers the day they all had to take the oath, when Hinako had to drink the ceremonial alcohol with their father. He recalls how the ceremonial bowl, massive in size, was fine for giants to down in a single gulp, but utterly overwhelming for a human. They had even told her it was merely symbolic, that she only needed to mimic the action, but Hinako, determined, drank it for real and spent a week recovering. Alice burst into laughter, vividly recalling how Hinako even began eating soil afterward from vomiting so much alcohol. Back in the present, Hinako informs her father that, being human, consuming the alcohol most likely overstimulated her system. With that in consideration, it isn't surprising she threw up, but she still feels truly grateful to have become sisters with the late girl. Yet, unlike her, who was human, Hinako will endure for much longer. She bows respectfully, saying that if she were to pass away, she wants him to please make Alice the next clan head, and to look after her. Meanwhile, Alice collapses in tears, crying out for her sister. She insists she only needs Hinako, and doesn't care for these giants or any new kin. All of a sudden, her brother seizes her by the collar, reminding her that he's already told her how limited her thinking is. He scolds her, saying the smallest giant has already proven what it means to have the heart of a true giant. Then, he throws her to the ground, accusing her of only thinking about herself while pretending to worry for Hinako, urging her to mature for her sister's sake. Back in the chamber, the father states that if this is her true wish, and if she genuinely desires the girl's growth, then she must move forward, abandon revenge, release her bitterness, and offer forgiveness, because that is the soul path ahead. Kneeling, Hinako quietly asks if he has ever despised someone so much that he wanted to end them, especially someone he once cared for deeply. He nods, admitting that he has. Raising her eyes, she asks if that means he understands that no matter what, that kind of love can't be discarded, that hatred is simply impossible. Following that exchange, she returns to find Alice sitting silently. Sonin glances over and asks if the discussion is finished. Hinako fixes her eyes on Alice, saying she crossed the line. Then she steps towards Sonin, adding that Alice is still a kid and he should let it go. He shrugs, replying that it was all in jest. Hinako gives him a soft smile, warning that if he takes things too far, she'll get angry. He agrees with a nod. Turning to Karula, Hinako informs her that she's gotten the father's blessing. She may now join the family. Carla beams with excitement, asking if that's really true. Hinako explains that the bond of sisterhood runs deeper than mere blood. If Carla accepts and both sides agree, then from today onward, she will be recognized as a younger sister. Carla's overjoyed, until Hinako casually announces that she'll become Alice's younger sibling. The statement shocks both girls, leaving them frozen in disbelief. Hinako grins, stating that she wanted to observe how the next generation functions under such a system. So this arrangement is ideal. Alice, in alarm, yells at her to stop, questioning why it has to be her. Even Carla protests, saying she wished to be Hinako's sister, not the giant's. Hinako gently explains that in her homeland, there exists a tradition where the elder sister protects the younger, and naturally, she is the oldest, so Carla can still call her Oni-sama. Still, neither girl agrees. They both firmly decline. Afterwards, Sonin approaches his father, updating him on Hinako's departure. He says he has a feeling her family is going to keep expanding, and that next time she visits, they should plan a grand welcome, because in the end, they're all family. But his father disagrees. He sternly tells him he's mistaken, urging him to look carefully. He says that this so-called family never existed in the first place. They aren't even true giants anymore, just echoes chasing the dragons, the legendary albino Titan goddess, and the shadow that follows her. Elsewhere, Alice observes a group being ambushed by a horde of wyverns, a modest convoy of merchants, and the escorts they had employed for protection, just as anticipated. Hinako glances at the scene, silently questioning whether Alice plans to intervene. Alice promptly yanks a tree from the ground, using the spirit of wood along with the power of earth, quietly remarking to herself a hope that the adventurers do not complain later about them stealing their target, then launches the tree towards the attacking creatures. Hinako mentally notes not to worry, deciding they will resolve any fallout afterward. Alice continues the assault, her arrows flying with precise aim, dropping wyverns one after the other. The adventurers standing opposite watch in stunned silence as the dragons crash to the earth, trying to make sense of what they are seeing until the towering silhouette ahead gives them the answer, confirming that a giant is present. As all three girls approach the scene, a short boy steps forward in welcome, expressing gratitude for the unexpected help and wondering aloud if they too were transported to this realm. He walks over to Hinako, offering his thanks again and giving his name as Takeryu. Hinako returns the introduction quietly. As they settle down nearby, he begins explaining that he only recently started out as an adventurer, and while arriving in a different world feels exciting, he thinks he may have made a mistake during skill selection. Hinako feels a flicker of confusion as he elaborates, revealing that his chosen ability activates only upon death, and though it allows him to rewind time, he now believes it was an impulsive choice, influenced by its popularity back in his former world. Suddenly, a strange sensation rushes through Carla, causing her to spring to her feet and dash outside without a word. The other girls follow quickly, joining her on a nearby cart. Carla turns to Alice, speaking with concern, wondering if she feels something out of place after meeting these merchants. Alice asks mentally what she means. Carla continues, questioning whether a sense of déjà vu is surfacing, and urges Alice to speak if she shares the feeling. Without hesitation, Carla jumps from the cart once more. The boy watches her action with confusion, unsure why she abruptly stood up. Carla raises her arm and points at him, calling him the pierced beetle skin of the infant, then begins reciting words in a tongue no one can understand. She fixes her eyes on him again, asking if this is truly their first encounter. Takeru stares at her, bewildered by her accusation, unsure if they have truly met before, but she presses on, urging him to simply listen. She explains that while she understands his excitement over gaining a life-altering ability in this world, the era of legendary otherworldly heroes has long since ended. He remains confused, but she continues, stating that tales of outsiders who could transform stones into gold, make flowers, bear fruit, or split the very earth were once real, yet now they are just relics of a forgotten age. The people of this world, she says, have already developed countermeasures against otherworldly powers. Realization begins to dawn on Takeru as he connects the dots. His Death Rewind ability, which allows him to return to life by rewinding time upon death, is no longer invincible, and strategies to neutralize it already exist. He panics, demanding to know how such a thing is possible. Hinako, curious, asks whether Carla had just tested something. Carla confirms, revealing that there is a way to identify a time rewind, a subtle physiological reaction to a 13-word trigger, including pupil contraction, whitening, and emotional dissonance, as well as a collective sense of déjà vu among those affected, because even a rewind leaves traces behind. Hinako sighs, admitting that she didn't know any of that, and realizes it's probably just common sense here. Alice reassures her that it's not, since she is also hearing it for the first time. Takeru presses Carla for more information, and she responds that he's misunderstood everything. People from other worlds are treated merely as tools here, with Death Rewind being one of the most exploitable. Hinako recalls aloud how the man who once kidnapped her mentioned selling her for a high price, prompting Takeru to slump back in horror, realizing that this dream of entering another world has quickly spiraled into a nightmare. Alice observes his distress and notes how, for the first time, someone has described this world in terms she understands, asking him whether he wants to return home and if he misses his parents. After thinking it through, he confesses that he does miss them, and they're probably worried. But another world still feels captivating. It gives him a sense of superiority he can't explain. Hinako appears puzzled, prompting him to elaborate, trying to describe the suffocating predictability of his past life. In that world, he could see everything mapped out, the future, the roles, even the end. Be it by divine design or societal rules, everything was rigid and predetermined. Here, at least, he doesn't know where things are heading. Hinako then questions if he's referring to God, and he clarifies that he meant even God created systems meant to confine humans. She responds softly, telling him she is someone who believes in God. Startled, Takeru hurriedly apologizes, insisting he didn't mean to insult her beliefs but she brushes it off gently, saying it's no big deal, just a being she can turn to in prayer and gratitude during difficult times. The others look at her in surprise, Carla especially, who remarks that Hinako really is like the people of this world. She explains that originally the people here believed in a spirit dwelling within all things, and over time they established the Holy Church around this belief, though not in a singular, personified God. The guy feels slightly reassured hearing all of this and turns to Carla, asking whether that's truly the case, referencing the time they were transported here and wondering if his memory is accurate. Hinako quietly recalls her encounter with the goddess Theos. She remembers how Theos informed her that she had died in an unfortunate accident, but would now be granted a chance to begin a new life in another world. The goddess had invited her to select a blessing from a full chart. Looking at it, Hinako's only question was whether she truly was a god. Theos affirmed that she was indeed the goddess of this world. Instead of choosing a blessing, Hinako walked up to the chart and tore it apart, then reached out to touch the goddess's face. In that moment, the chart vanished, and she found herself facing nothing but a wall. Turning back, she looked at the only door in the room and apologized, admitting that perhaps somewhere out there, a god might show her mercy. Yet, staring at her own hands, she quietly declared that she could not accept this being as a true god. Touching the room's security panel, she accessed the system, thinking this wasn't a blessing or a second chance, only a path straight to hell. Returning to the present moment, she tells them it was indeed a strange experience, as if she had been placed in a world where she simply didn't belong. So she walked away. Carla glances at her and remarks that she must truly be someone who turned down all abilities, even as a key holder. Takeru beams, calling her a sister and praising her for adventuring without any special powers, something he finds remarkable. He then eagerly asks if she'll take him along and let him be her brother. Carla and Alice both glance at him, visibly grinding their teeth in frustration, muttering how it's happening again. Even Takeru sighs, admitting that it's inevitable. Men trying to intrude into a Yuri dynamic just doesn't work. Hinako, puzzled by his words, clarifies that it's not like that. She explains that they're planning to visit the father of the giant clan to request permission to bring more siblings into their journey. Takeru responds that in that case, he won't be able to join them just yet, since he needs to head to the capital as an escort. Hinako then informs the others that their next stop is also the capital, and if they get their father's blessing and meet again, they'll reunite when the time is right. Overjoyed, Takeru hugs her, expressing his heartfelt thanks. Hinako even turns to Carla, asking if she's okay with all of this. Carla, left with no real argument, reluctantly agrees. She then steps up to Takeru and offers a quiet apology for her earlier tone. She explains that the death rewind ability is often exploited for future scouting, but if anyone approaches him while knowing he's an otherworlder, he needs to be extremely cautious. She warns him to stay away from those who try to idolize him, urging him to flee immediately if he ever encounters such people, even if it means triggering the rewind. Holding his hand, she tells him that what awaits him if caught is a fate more horrifying than death, and begs him to remember to escape no matter what. Takeru nods solemnly, assuring her that he understands and will be careful. With that, he climbs into his carriage and rides off. Afterward, two girls call out to Takeru asking whether it's his first time traveling to the capital. He seems a bit thrown off, but replies that it is. One of the girls, with animal-like ears, bows politely toward his carriage and asks if he's really an otherworlder, a hero. Takeru tries to downplay it, explaining that it's not quite like that, but before he can continue, the second girl scolds the first for being too forward. The one with the cat-like ears just laughs it off and insists it's fine. Suddenly, she grabs Takeru's hand with excitement, insisting that all otherworlders are heroes blessed with powers. Isn't that just common sense? She says. That sort of thing makes her jealous. Takeru hesitates, nervously explaining that the girl he met earlier was the real hero, and he's only just left the village. This is the first time he's even seen someone like her. The cat-eared girl lights up, saying she's heard many stories about heroes. The other girl steps closer and adds that it's a shame. If he were a hero, they would have considered traveling with him. Blushing, Takeru asks if they mean that, and both nod, repeating how amazing heroes are. Before long, they guide him away, all smiles, handing over a bit of coin and leading him toward a shabby, run-down hut. Inside, they begin chatting with a man who doesn't look too pleased. He reminds them that this wasn't part of the agreement. They counter that Takeru is special, and even if not the ideal candidate, he can still be useful. They take some payment from the man and tell Takeru goodbye, with fake smiles before walking out. The man approaches Takeru and calmly informs him that some preparations are necessary before the boss arrives. As he speaks, he glances toward a pile of limbs, arms and legs, and Takeru's heart pounds in horror. Tears begin to well in his eyes. He can't understand what he's looking at or whose limbs they are. Then, to his shock, he looks at his own arm. His eyes go wide in fear. The man stands before him with a long blade, muttering that everything's ready except for a final touch. Just then, a strange creature enters the room, bowing low and glaring at the box. She scolds the man, reminding him that the process must be handled carefully here, because if Takeru experiences too much pain and chooses to die and rewind, it'll ruin everything. The man immediately panics and apologizes, handing the arms over to her and nervously commenting on their freshness. The creature receives them with cold indifference, noting that it's just what she needed. As they begin pulling out newer sets, Takeru screams, begging them to stop. The creature levitates above him, staring down as she questions him. How does he find this world? Isn't it wonderful that just by being another attractive girls fawn over him with no questions asked? Why would they dress provocatively and praise every move he makes? She challenges him. Do they do it out of desire? Number. Do they gain anything from it? Also, number. That behavior was shaped by society itself. These women were taught that offering their bodies in admiration of other worlders was their purpose. She continues her speech with biting clarity. Humans prosper because they're social creatures. They built religion, culture, and power through cooperation. But when it came to monsters, demons, foreigners, including other worlders, society systematically excluded them. That's what allowed humans to dominate. Takeru winces in pain as she presses on. Is he planning to use his gift to start a new legacy, to meet those he deems beneath him and mold them with his values? She warns him not to get it backward. Other worlders are seen as divine gifts, not because they are better, but because the world shaped that belief, and those around them have been trained to thank God for their presence and value them like blessings. Takeru finally breaks, sobbing as he screams out that he doesn't want this. He doesn't want to believe someone will come save him, but still, he calls out desperately for help, for his mother, for his sister, pleading for someone to rescue him from this nightmare. Meanwhile, far away, the three girls, Hinako, Carla, and Alice, arrive at a massive gate. Looking up at it, they breathe a sigh of relief. They've reached their destination, the capital, Bondemens.